Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out QNT's price chart and see what is going on in like very short term. And I do sort of kind of believe that we are going according to what we said before, but it is a little bit complicated. We are going to basically talk about those in a minute. But before that, we are going to at first talk about this important tweet from QNT's account, which talks about Quant Fusion. Now, in case that you are a new viewer and you don't know what is going on, let me give you a quick rundown of Quant Fusion so you are going to be clear on what are we talking about and why this is so important. You see, Quant Fusion is part of a much bigger project called Overledger Fusion by Quant Network. Now, this isn't your typical layer 2 or layer 3 solution. No, it's actually something in between, and that's why in most cases this is referred to as layer 2.5, and it is basically designed to handle scalability and also interoperability without the usual headaches. So what's the point in here? You see, this aims to connect different blockchains, whether it's going to be public or maybe even private, without really relying on bridges or maybe stupid wrap tokens. And if you have been around crypto long enough, you know exactly that bridges are often the weakest link when it comes to security, and Fusion is trying to skip that mess entirely. And with all that said, now let's talk about the recent update Quant posted in this tweet. First things first, they released something called an open source connector specification, and if it sounds complicated, it's not actually. You see, this is just a fancy way of saying they gave developers a blueprint to build connectors between Fusion and other blockchains. And here is the cool part, it fully worked. Developers picked it up and started building right away, and within a few days, connectors were already built for EVM chains, for example Ethereum, also Hedera Hashgraph, and also Sui. And that kind of speed, in my view, tells you two very important things. Number one, the tools are solid, and number two, the developer community is fully engaged. This is not just a theory anymore, it's actually working in practice at the moment. Now, another technical highlight that was mentioned in this important tweet was the fact that Fusion supports two types of data models. Number one, a DLT agnostic model, which in case that you are a new viewer and you don't know what is going on, it's basically like a universal format that works across different blockchains. Number two, Fusion supports blockchain-specific models, which is tailored for quirks and formats of individual networks. And this dual support means developers can build cross-chain applications that are both flexible and scalable at the same time. And in this situation, you're not really stuck, at least anymore, trying to force one format to fit every single chain. It is fully adaptable. So now that we covered what Quant Fusion is and what is already working, let's talk about what is going to come next and why this actually matters quite a bit. So first up, we have to, I believe, talk about automating connector embedding. Right now, developers can build connectors to link different blockchains to Fusion, and that is fantastic. But QNT's next move is to make the whole process fully automatic. So instead of manually plugging in each and every single new connector, Fusion will be able to detect and also integrate them on its own. And that means, number one, faster onboarding for new blockchains. Number two, a whole lot less manual work. And number three, a smoother experience for a developer. This is like going from, I don't know, let's say hand cranking a car to pushing a button and letting it self-drive. This, in my view, is that much of a big leap. And after all this, then there is going to be multi-ledger rollup. This is one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. You see, Quant has been testing and also auditing this part on their devnet for quite some time now. And here is why this is such a big deal. Because it allows native asset transfers across blockchain. This is the key, pay attention, without using bridges. That is right, no stupid wrap tokens, no third-party middleman. Assets in this scenario moves completely directly, securely, and also natively. And if you are building for institutions or serious DeFi use cases, This kind of setup is an absolute game changer. And the fact that they are actually auditing it and have been auditing it for quite some time, to me, that shows that they are serious about security and also reliability. This is not just about building fast, it is about building it correctly. And especially when you are dealing with financial institutions, compliance and trust, I promise you, are not optional. They are fully mandatory. So what does that all mean strategically? Let's go through them one by one. Number one, Quant's open source connectors are helping grow the ecosystem by letting third-party developers build and plug in very much easily. Number two, the multi-ledger rollup removes the need for bridges, which cuts down very much on risk and also complexity. Number three, their support for both universal and blockchain-specific data models makes it very much easier to move data across chains without really breaking things. And number four, with automated embedding, integration becomes much faster and more scalable. But maybe the biggest signal in here is the institutional focus. You see, every single thing in here, from the architecture to the audit, is built with regulation and enterprise grade security in mind. They are not just chasing hype, they are building infrastructure that could, and hopefully it would actually support real world finance. So bottom line, Quant Fusion isn't just another blockchain upgrade. It's very important to understand that this is a shift in how interoperability is done, and by combining compliance first design, native cross-chain functionality, and open developments, Quant is setting itself up to be the backbone for the next wave of institutional and DeFi adoption. And tell me right away, because in the last couple of weeks, the prices has been kind of sort of going down. We are not going to have a bull run, and this is basically the end of the bull. I find that extremely hard to believe, especially with all the great fundamentals that we are having. In my view, in this cycle, we are absolutely going to get a beautiful altcoin season, and for all the right reasons, whether it's going to be fundamentals or technicals, I believe QNT is going to participate in that alt season, and your patience on holding Quant is going to be finally rewarded big time. It's just a matter of time. Now, having said all the great stuff, let's go on the live chart and see what is going on in the short term. And something I would say sort of kind of important happened, but the real important sign hasn't really happened yet. If you remember, the last time that we talked about QNT, we were right around this area, and the idea was that if you want to be bullish, you have to continue this move on the upside. Why did I say you have to continue? Because as you can see, we are clearly having overlapping of the waves between this move down and also this one. And if you want to say, I don't know, maybe this is like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then okay, this pretty much narrows your options, since we are having overlapping of the waves, to some sort of a diagonal structure. And I don't really think that I need to show it to you guys to say, look, this supposedly wave 3 is clearly bigger than 1. So essentially your options are only narrowed to having an expanding leading diag, which in it, this wave 5 has to be bigger than wave 3. Hence why I said this move up has to continue a bit more. And what happened? Unfortunately, we actually got a move on the downside in here, and we took this important low, which isn't necessarily an optimistic sign. When, for example, you look at it from this perspective, where is it? Excuse me, I am blind. There we go. As you can see, seems like that we did actually break this channel on the downside, and that's definitely not good, indicating, you know what, maybe after a small pullback, we are going to continue our move down in QNT, and that actually completely adds up with my primary case, indicating maybe in Quant, we are having, excuse me, starting from this point and not the highest high, the subwaves for an A, B, C in form of either a running flat or maybe an expanded flat, depending on whether we are going to take the lows all the way down here about $85 or not. In my view, even if we are going to have a flat, it's most likely going to be an ABC running flat, and we're not really going to go like a whole lot lower than this point in order to visit the lows once more. I find that right now at least a bit unrealistic. But Here is something very interesting for you. Let's zoom in more. Okay, as you can see, now we are having overlapping of the waves between this move up and also this move. And why is this so important? You see, we talked about this count before, suggesting this is one correction for two, and then 1, 2, 3, and maybe we are having, we said, correction for 4, and then we're gonna have another move down into wave 5, which on a higher degree, this 5 wave is going to be into this wave 3, followed by correction for 4, and even after it, yet another move on the downside into wave 5. But here is a very important point for you. You see, for our wave 3 in terms of the subwaves, we are simply not allowed to have overlapping of the waves. This is very, very important to understand. But on the other hand, we do actually have overlapping of the waves. So what is going on in here? Well, you can consider different counts. For example, you can, I guess, sort of kind of argue this overlapping of the waves is like very, very small, and it is kind of ignorable. So if you want to ignore that, you know what, fair enough, this is then in play, meaning what, our move down in QNT is indeed going to continue. But if you do not want to ignore the overlapping of the waves in here, then I think you need to probably change some counts. I mean, sure, maybe this is wave 4 and then like a truncated wave 5 into this wave 3. And then sure, you can say this is wave 4 and we are still going to have, unfortunately, yet another move down into wave 5. And by the way, in like very, very short time, if I just zoom in, okay, I think we can say this is 1, this is 2, and then wave 3 and 4 and 5. So in the short term, we may end up having like an ABC on the upside, but on a higher degree, even if this count is happening, I think you need to consider this 5 wave down into a wave 1, correction for 2, and what's next? Unfortunately, a continuation of the move down into wave 3 and 4 and 5. So you see, a lot of scenarios do suggest that in QNT, our move down is most likely not over yet, and those will actually get confirmed the moment that we get yet another very small move down in order to take this important slow down here about $106, because at that point there's simply no shot for us to be able to find a complete 5 wave in here, meaning what, this was a correction all along and this phase down is going to continue. Does that mean that at that point we should be like 100% bearish? No, definitely not, because if we just go on H4 time frame, okay, what do we have on some higher degrees? As you can see, beautiful clear cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave into a wave 1, followed by that this whole move is a correction for wave 2. And what's next after our short-term move down is over? You know the answer in case that you are a regular viewer. We're gonna have a huge move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. And why am I insisting on this wave 3 to be absolutely massive? Because in terms of Elliott's waves, wave 3 is known to be quite a strong and sharp move on the up or maybe downside, doesn't really matter. Now, back to our short-term structure conversation. What is happening in here if you do not want to consider having an ABC flat? I think you need to, at that point, probably consider the possibility of having maybe, I don't know actually, maybe like a double zigzag, but I know probably a lot of you are going to say, look, in a double zigzag for our wave X right in here, we are not allowed to take the initial high, and I fully agree with you. So, you know, the structures can at that point be a little bit up for debates. Can we have some other counts? Yes, but those ones are actually going to be like much more bearish. For example, you can say, okay, we are still going to have an ABC flat, but instead this is a 5 wave down to about this point into a wave 1, followed by a correction for wave 2, and this is going to be like a very strong extension down into wave 3 and 4 and 5, which on a higher degree might be into like wave 3 and then correction for 4, another move down into wave 5. Can this scenario be in play? The answer is yes, but having something like this implies that maybe in Bitcoin we are going to see, starting from the current point, like a 15% move on the downside, and for now at least I don't really think that is going to happen. I think in Bitcoin, odds are we're not really going to go a whole lot lower, maybe like a 5% correction, and then that will probably be it, the low of our short-term move down, and then we're gonna have yet another move on the upside, which at the same time, most alts are going to follow and get their bounce back. So overall, in QNT, I want to tell you, this move down in the short term, there's a very good chance that it's going to continue. However, probably not for that much, and maybe even not for that long. For example, I do believe on maybe like another 8 to 10% move down, but not a whole lot more than that. And then what you want to see is a very strong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very good move up without a lot of overlapping of the waves in order for you to be able to flip 100% bullish and call, for example, this point your final low. Overall, we are looking great, do not get me wrong, but in the short term, maybe we are going to continue this phase down just a little bit more. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in QNT's price chart. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.